Bang and Burn, tilde Dreamnotfound plus Skephalo, by _Ablet on Wattpad. Chapter 1. He was so close, Nick tells his coworker Daryl. My fingertips brushed his shoulder, but he still got away. Nick buries his face in his hands, and he props himself up on his desk with his elbows. They're taking me off the case. There's no way they'll take you off, Nick, Daryl reassures his friend. You're one of the best hunters we've got. Nick lowers his hands from his face. That's the thing, though. Hunter after hunter has been sent out after him, and nothing has worked. We need someone to lead him to us. Someone that can wrap him around their finger and get all of the information we need without tipping him off. Have you said that to our boss? Daryl asks. Yeah, but I don't think any of us are dumb enough to pursue him like that. If he finds out that he's been tricked, the guy will kill whoever is doing the job. Plus, he knows what we all look like now that he figured me out. Nick checks his watch. Oh shit, I gotta get home. I can't have George asking questions. When are you gonna tell him that you're an agent? Daryl questions. You've been best friends for years, and now that you're roommates, he's probably gonna figure it out eventually. He's never gonna know, Daryl. It'd be too dangerous if he knew. Nick packs up his desk and starts heading for the elevator. I'll see you tomorrow, Daryl. The whole drive home, Nick watches as minutes pass. He told George he'd be off of work at 6, but here he was at 8, speeding down the street to make up time, as if being an hour and 59 minutes late is better than being 2 hours late. As an agent, Nick was always prepared to lie on the spot. He was amazing at it. But George somehow saw through almost all of his lies. When George tried questioning Nick's career, he always got some answer he knew wasn't the truth. Eventually, he just stopped asking what Nick did for a living. Nick pulls up to their apartment and parks his car, rushing inside. George was lying on the couch, clicking through TV channels with a remote. When Nick opened the door, he didn't even look up from the TV. You're late, George says, annoyed. Nick tenses, preparing to lie. Yeah, sorry, I got held up doing paperwork. Nick rolls his eyes. Whatever. What's with the attitude? Nick asks. I got laid off, George responds. Nick looks at George, expecting him to laugh, but when he doesn't, he realizes that George is serious. Wait, why? George shrugs. I don't know much. All I know is that they didn't have the money to support another worker, and after a game of eeny, meeny, miny, moe, I was the lucky one that got fired. I can cover your rent for the time being. You focus on getting another job, Nick says. His phone chimes as he gets a message from Daryl, saying to call him ASAP. George turns off the TV and puts the remote down. Unfortunately, not many people are hiring coders right now. I'll keep checking every day, but it may be a bit before I even get an interview. Sorry, George. I gotta call my coworker real quick. I'll be back in a few. Nick heads off to his bedroom, locking the door behind him just as he gets a call from Daryl. Calm down. I was just about to call you, Derry. Hello, Nick, he hears his boss's voice say. Nick checks his phone and sees that he was added to a group call with Daryl and his boss. Daryl came by my office and reminded me about your idea to use other means to capture Dream. After some talking, we have decided to start a new program where we hire someone to seduce the criminal, and we want you to be a part of that. I'm sorry, but I'm not into men like that. I'd have a hard time seducing him, Nick says, partially confused. Daryl laughs as their boss explains further. No, Nick, you'd be in charge of whoever we hire to get Dream. You wouldn't do the flirting yourself. I'll send you the info. You and Daryl will be working on this together. Sounds like a plan. I'll confirm when I've received the info. Nick hears his boss hang up and decides to talk to Daryl about their new project. So who do you think is going to have to seduce this dude? I honestly don't know, Daryl admits. I know the boss mentioned hiring multiple people and sending them all in to see which one Dream takes a liking to. We know a lot about him, but his sexuality is not in our database. Well, good luck to whoever has to get with him, Nick says. That's not an easy job to fulfill. So, was George mad at you when you got back? Daryl asks. It's hard to tell. He got laid off today, so whether I was back in time or not, he'd be miserable. Daryl gasps. That's it. Nick, get George to seduce Dream. Nick laughs. Yeah, no. That's never going to happen. I wouldn't let him. Besides, I don't think he's confident enough with himself to pull off something like that. Nick then hears a knock at his door. Hang on one sec. Nick opens the door to see George dressed up in black skinny jeans and a white shirt with a flannel wrapped around his waist. I'm going out, he says. You can join me if you want. I'm just going to our usual spot. Nick shakes his head. Sorry, not tonight, George. I'm going to catch up on some sleep. George shrugs. Suit yourself. I'll let you know if I'm not coming home tonight. Ooh, it's going to be one of those nights, huh? Nick teases. George rolls his eyes. Probably not. I'm not looking to sleep with anyone. It's just routine to tell you that if I somehow do, I'll let you know. George grabs his keys and leaves. Nick unmutes his phone to hear Daryl yelling at him from the other line. Nick, he's been spotted! Wait, someone saw Dream? Nick asks, adrenaline starting to pump through his veins. Yeah, the boss sent us his location and is sending us with 2 people to send in to seduce Dream. I'll be by to pick you up in a minute. Be ready. Before Nick can respond, Daryl hangs up. Nick quickly changes from his nice button-up and slacks into a black pair of sweatpants and a black t-shirt. He pulls his bulletproof vest on, then puts a black sweatshirt on over it. He ties up his sneakers just in time to hear his phone chime. Daryl was here. He runs out of his apartment and down the steps as the door to their black van flies open. Nick jumps in, being careful not to hit the monitors on the inside. Daryl was typing away on a computer as a driver from their company took them to their destination. Okay, update me, Daryl, Nick says. What's the mission? Dream was spotted at a bar downtown and appeared to be alone. We are going to send in the plants and see if they can lure him out of the bar, Daryl explains, motioning to the back of the van. Tucked away in between the computer screens and keyboards was a man and a woman, both dressed like they were going on a date. Nick recognized them both as people that work for his company, but not on the Dream case. We'll be at the Bittersweet Apple in 5 minutes. Get ready, Daryl says, still typing away on his keyboard. Nick's heart drops. The Bittersweet Apple? Daryl nods. Yeah, it's a large bar that has some cheap drinks tonight. Nick rubs his hands through his hair. I know exactly what bar that is. That's George's bar. He's there now. Goodness, okay, we'll just have to be extra careful that he doesn't see you, Daryl says. You'll be on camera duty. I'll sit on the inside to keep an eye on our plants. Nick's palms started to get sweaty. Just the thought of George being near him while he was working made him nervous. Dream was a dangerous man, and he didn't want George getting hurt. As they pulled up to the bar, Nick looks through the window and sees George sitting up at the bar, playing on his phone while he waits to be served. Okay, Nick, the cameras are pulled up on the monitors. All earpieces are on and ready to go, Daryl says, putting his earpiece in. Which one is George again? Nick points to him. He's at the bar. He's the one with brown hair and the accent. Daryl nods. Okay, I'll keep an eye on him. You never know what Dream would do if he knew we were here. Not helping, Daryl, Nick says as he logs into one of the unused computers. He pulls up a black document and titles it, Dream Notes, November 10th. I'm ready. Good luck. The woman walks into the bar first. She settles in a seat at the bar, far away from George, and orders a virgin fruit drink of some sort. After 15 minutes, the man enters and struts over to one of the tables with people sitting at it. He seems to be very charismatic, which made Nick feel hopeful. This plan may work. Daryl was the last one to enter, placing himself in an empty booth in the back corner of the bar to observe everything. Through Nick's earpiece, he hears, Bad to Sapnap, we're in position, over. Hear you loud and clear, Nick says as he observes the bar. After some time of waiting, he finally sees him. Dream. Dream walks out of the back room and begins wandering around the bar, saying hi to people as he goes. The woman was up first. She gets up from her spot and confidently walks up to Dream. Through Nick's earpiece, he could very clearly hear everything being said. Hey there, big boy. I haven't seen you around here before, the woman says, touching Dream's arm. She was good at this. She knew her way around a man. Dream laughs nervously. I'm not interested. He gently grabs her hand and takes it off his arm and walks away. Wow, I don't think I've ever seen a man turn Alia down before, Daryl says. She's the best we've got. Send the guy in, Nick says. All right, Marco, you're up, Daryl says, just as Dream takes a seat at the bar. Marco gets up and walks towards Dream. He made it further than Alia did, which made Nick hopeful, but Dream seemed distracted. He kept looking at something behind Marco and, eventually, stopped responding to him and focused his attention on whatever was behind him. Sorry, you seem great, but I'm not interested, Dream says as he stands up, leaving Marco on his own. Nick begins to feel a panic as Dream takes a seat next to George and begins talking to him. At this point, George had a good couple of drinks in him and had a great buzz going, which only worried Nick more. Daryl, Nick says, trying to keep his cool. Get closer to George. He sees Daryl shake his head through the window. I can't. If Dream recognizes me, we've blown the mission. It's already blown. He's being drawn to the wrong person, Nick shouts. He pulls out his phone and sends a text to George, asking how the night is going. He watches George look at his phone, but then shoves it into his pocket as he gets deeper into conversation with Dream. Get him out of there, Daryl, Nick commands. I'm not letting my best friend do this. He then watched in horror as Dream grabs George's hand and pulls him towards the door of the bar. Daryl, get him out! He practically screams through his earpiece. Daryl doesn't budge. Nick starts to get out of the car, but then notices the gun holstered on the side of Dream's pants. It took everything in him to not get to his friend, but he knew that if he showed his face to Dream, he'd kill them both. Dream gestures for George to get into the passenger seat of his car as he gets into the driver's seat. That's when Nick gets a text from George. Hey, Nicky, I made a friend and I won't be home tonight. Wish me luck, kissy face. Not only was George incredibly drunk, he was now on his way to sleep with the enemy. Author's note. Word count 2,145. Published July 7th. Reader's note. So this is my first fanfiction that I've ever done something like this for. I'm not really sure how the quality is, so just let me know if I need to like make it quieter, turn it up, whatever I need to do if it's too like scratchy and stuff. If the author asks me to take this down, just know that I will, no questions asked. I hope you enjoyed this fanfiction reading. This was just the first chapter. I don't really have a schedule yet, so I don't know when the second chapter will be coming out. I just know that I will be doing it. If you liked this, consider subscribing. You don't have to. Drop me a like. I don't know. I've never really done this before. See you guys next time I do this, I guess. Bye.